Hey everybody, Simone here with Bulletproof Business Growth, as always with some ideas and insights, what to pay attention to when you are growing in business. So today we're going to dive into Elon Musk's recent actions and how that applies to you and your business, how you can transform the way you manage and understand your business. So we'll talk about CEO updates, or what's widely known as 515s. So just to kind of set this up, you may have heard about Elon Musk's recent directive to all federal employees to provide this list of 5 things that they have accomplished in the previous week. And if they don't do that, he will consider that they resign. So, I don't honestly don't care about what you think about Elon. That's not what this is about. This particular application to me is very, very problematic. But I want to look at the tool. I want to look at the construct, because if it had been done correctly, there's really great merit to this practice. And I want to help you really look at the practice and how you can apply that to your business as a very valuable tool. So I want to talk about why you don't want to act like Elon, and why the practice in itself is a very valuable practice for business owners like you. So let's forget about the government for a moment and focus on how you can use this approach to drive greater success in your business. So I'll explore what I said. We call it CEO updates, or the 515 concept, and I'll discuss how to implement this effectively. And I'll also make the distinction for what is appropriate use. And I might get a little fired up about that, but I'll try to keep it together just to make it really clear for you. So let's understand the 515 concept. What does that actually mean? So we call it the CEO update, and it's a very simple thing. It's a weekly update for your employees, where your employees update their direct leader, whether that is you or their managers, with their wins and their accomplishments, their challenges, and where they need help. And we break that down into 6 different sections. So of course, like up top's the date. Then we ask for a progress report, what's completed, what's in progress, or what are current priorities. Then we ask for what are roadblocks, what are challenges, or any changes in agreed upon deliverables and scope. And then we talk about what are priorities or focus for this week specifically, and then lessons learned, opportunities for improvement, and any questions or problems that they need their leaders' input on. So that's how we do our CEO updates. And this provides immense value. If this is done correctly, if it's practiced consistently, it provides immense value for you, because, well, for one thing, you gain an update, you know what's what, and also you, from getting these reports from your leaders, you will know what to address with the team, what to bring into one-on-ones for feedback. And the best part about this is, when you do this correctly and you've trained your team correctly, it's a very efficient and effective practice, because the intention behind it, and that's why it's called 515 in many applications, is it should take you no longer than 5 minutes to consume, and it should take your employee no longer than 15 minutes to write this thing. Okay. So once you get this, you are informed of what the progress and the priorities of your team are. What are they doing that's actually in congruence with your plan, or also it gives you insight into, you thought employee X was doing A when really they're doing B. And oftentimes it's not because they're bad employees or you're a bad leader. It's because communication and clarity can sometimes be lacking. And especially if you practice an agile business approach, you want to find out sooner than later. So having these short, very specific requests that they fulfill and send you this information can be incredibly helpful. So the 515 concept really bridges that gap, and it means people are getting to also regularly share their accomplishments, and it gives you better understanding what's actually done, where your employees are focused, and where there's any potential misalignment that may be occurring that you don't even know about. So, and look, I mean, it's always important to celebrate. This gives your employees a chance to record their successes, because look, we are in a lot of challenge most of the day as business owners. Your team handles many challenges all day long. So this is kind of where they live. So it's easy to forget the great work that they do. And when you think about burnout, job satisfaction, stick factor, people staying around, loving their jobs, capturing this is very, very powerful because it returns energy, right? So your 515 is that running log of achievements. It's invaluable information also when you think about performance reviews, promotions, or identifying areas for growth, because you certainly want to capture that. So how do you implement this 515 concept in your business? How do you introduce that? Well, number one, what's very important is to, before you start this and make it a mandate, you want to gain buy-in from your leadership and from your employees, because you want to get everybody on board. And you generally do that by talking about the benefits of doing this extra thing, because to them in the beginning, it's going to sound like, oh, great, there's another thing I need to do. Why should I have to do that? More time out of my day. And the only way this is actually going to be successful is if everybody does this consistently without you having to push them, right? So that's like very, very important. So you need their buy-in. So once you have that, or as part of that, you want to communicate the purpose and the expectations, kind of the why behind the 515, so that they understand how important this communication and transparency is to the success of the business, which it is, especially when it's something that is part of your culture, so it gets delivered without you having to follow up. People just follow through because they understand this is an important part of having transparency and communication. So the must behind this is you have to make this into a routine. So for a while there, you might have to remind people, you might have to follow up, you might have to explain why it's important. You might feel like the broken record and the chief reminding officer. But when you're consistent about it and they understand it is important to you and why it's important to you, if you have the right team, they will get it and they will get on board with it. So as an example, what we do is submit your 515 by end of day on Friday. I know some of our clients like including this into their team meetings on Monday, but whatever you do, consistency is key here. And what you really want to do as a part of it is stressing that open communication is very, very important on this, and that you will follow up on the information that's provided. And this is really, really important. Don't just collect the 515s and move on, or like read over it or mention it once in a while. You want to take your time. You want to really review these, identify gaps and area of concern, and use that to drive meaningful discussions and improvements. So your team has to actually see that you care, that you take this, they put the effort in, they went the extra step, and you actually care and you do something with this information, and you keep demonstrating how this is of benefit to them. So now that we've gone through this, I want to make a bit of a distinction between business and government application here. So, and I really want to acknowledge my concerns here with Elon Musk's directive to federal employees, because while the 515 concept can be a very powerful tool, the way it was implemented on his side is very, very problematic. The key difference here really is that a government is not a private company. Federal employees have legal protections and rights that should be respected, and any directive of this nature if implemented in a government setting, needs to go through proper channels and involve the appropriate stakeholders, which it did not. So, but without getting much further into this, even with all this aside, right, the inappropriateness of this, the other part that's very problematic and that you don't ever want to do as a leader is the way Elon did this was like gross overreach. Because instead of respecting company structure and hierarchy that's there for a reason, it's kind of like the CEO coming in and disregarding the entire leadership team, marching out on the production floor, giving orders for things that they don't even understand, and creating confusion and chaos and disinformation in the process, and just meddling with things that they don't understand, because that's not where they live and that's not what they deal with. So they have no business doing that. So as a leader, you have no business overreaching in such a way that you are not dealing with your direct layer, right? It's like you do this with your leaders do this with your teams, with their teams do this with anybody they have below. So this is why we have layers, and that's why we need to train all the layers to do this correctly. We really need proper structure and channels, and have all this set up so we can have successful implementation with all this. So let's talk about how you can apply the 515 effectively in your business. And a big piece of that is really the correct approach, because the correct approach here is when it's collaborative and not punitive. And the mindset here, the goal here is to foster open communication and understanding, and not about catching people doing something wrong. So that's number one. Number two is you want to provide clear guidelines and expectations for your team, and make really clear this is not some sort of gotcha exercise. This is a way to stay aligned, to stay tuned to each other, and drive the business forward. And then you can integrate these 515s into regular management practices, into your team meetings, into your one-on-ones, and use the information to drive meaningful conversations, identify areas for improvement, and like I said earlier, celebrate those wins. So remember here, your 515 tool is to help you better understand your business, not a way to micromanage or exert control over your employees. Used correctly, it's a powerful catalyst for growth and success. So there you have it, folks, the 515 concept done right, and how you can leverage it to transform your business. We have a really awesome offer right now that's limited time. It's actually working with me one-on-one, and I will include some information on that in the show notes. So have a fabulous day, and I will see you next time.